All right, hello and welcome all you safety professionals. If you're digging in and getting ready for that certified safety professional exam, you already know that toxicology is way more than just a chapter in a textbook, right? It's really the foundation of occupational health. It's how we see the invisible, how we anticipate and recognize and control those dangers in our workplaces. So let's dive into this, break it down, and get you one huge step closer to absolutely nailing that exam.
We have to start right here. This is probably the single most important principle in all of toxicology. It's a concept from way back in the 15th century, but it is still our guiding light today. Paracelsus, often called the father of toxicology, said it best: the dose makes the poison. And what does that mean? It means literally anything, even something as harmless as water, can hurt you if you get too much of it. This whole dose-response relationship is the core logic we use for everything, from setting those workplace exposure limits to picking out the right PPE. Honestly, this is the key that unlocks everything else we're going to talk about.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to kick things off with the language of toxicology, then we'll jump into how toxins actually get into the body and what they do. After that, we'll tour a gallery of some common hazards, and then the big finale will connect all of it right back to your CSP exam blueprint.
Look, to master any field, you have to speak the language, and toxicology is no different. So before we can even start talking about specific chemicals or diseases, we've got to get super clear on the fundamental terms. These are the words and the distinctions that you're going to see over and over again, both on the exam and out in the real world.
Okay, first up, and this one is so fundamental: hazard versus risk. A hazard is the potential for something to cause harm. So a big sealed drum of acid, that's a hazard. Risk, on the other hand, is the chance, the likelihood that the harm will actually happen. So if that same drum is leaking right in the middle of a busy walkway, well, the risk just shot through the roof. And this leads to what should be a mantra for every single one of us. We don't eliminate hazards. A lot of times that's just impossible. We manage risk. That's the heart of our job.
Next, let's talk about time. This is a big one. Think about a sudden chlorine gas leak. Bam! That's an acute exposure. The effects are immediate, they're right now, and they're often really severe. But chronic exposure, that's the silent danger. It's the welder who's breathing in tiny amounts of manganese fumes every single day for 20 years. The damage just builds up so slowly, so quietly that you don't see it until it's far too late. Understanding this difference is absolutely key to spotting the different kinds of dangers in our workplaces.
Oh yeah, you are definitely going to see this one on the exam. LD50. That stands for lethal dose 50. It's a standardized way to measure how toxic a substance is when it's eaten or absorbed through the skin. The 50 just means it was lethal to half of the test animals. It's a critical number because it lets us compare apples to oranges, toxicologically speaking. Is chemical A more dangerous than chemical B? The LD50 gives us a quick, if kind of grim, answer. A lower number means it's more toxic.
And here's its counterpart, LC50. The C is the key here. It stands for concentration. This is the metric we use for anything floating around in the air: gases, vapors, dusts. For us, in occupational safety, this is huge. I mean, most of our fights are against things people are breathing in. So really getting a handle on LC50 is absolutely critical for figuring out inhalation risks. And finally, let's talk about IDLH. You can just think of the IDLH value as the big red panic button. The moment an atmospheric concentration hits this level, it means things are immediately dangerous to life and health. This number triggers our highest level of response. Emergency plans kick in, and you're talking about needing the best respiratory protection, like supplied air respirators. It's the hard red line you just do not cross without a lifeline.
Okay, so we've learned the language. We know the key terms for measuring and classifying how toxic something is, but the next logical question is, how does this stuff actually get from the outside world into our bodies? And what happens when a worker is exposed to more than one chemical at the same time? Let's jump into our next section and find out.
Think of these as the four main superhighways for toxins to get inside the body. By far, the biggest and fastest is inhalation, just breathing it in. That's the most common one in the workplace. Followed by absorption through the skin, ingestion from, say, contaminated hands, and injection, which is less common but still possible. As a safety pro, our job is to set up roadblocks on these highways. That means things like ventilation for inhalation, gloves for absorption, and just good basic hygiene to prevent ingestion.
Now this slide is so important because our workplaces are rarely clean rooms with just one chemical, right? People are exposed to mixtures. And of all these different interactions, synergy is the one that should keep us safety pros up at night. The classic example is smoking and asbestos. Each one on its own raises your risk of lung cancer. But when you put them together, the risk isn't just added up, it's multiplied. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 5. The combined effect is dangerously, shockingly greater than the sum of its parts.
All right, we have the foundational principles down cold. Now let's make this stuff real. We're about to walk through a gallery of hazards, kind of a rogues gallery of some of the most common and dangerous substances you're going to run into. Knowing these specific agents and the diseases they cause is absolutely critical for the CSP exam.
First up, the infamous asbestos. The real danger here is that it's not immediate, it's a ticking clock. When a person inhales these tiny, sharp fibers, it can lead to two devastating outcomes many, many years down the road. First is asbestosis, which is this severe, irreversible scarring that basically turns the lungs to stone and makes it incredibly hard to breathe. The second is mesothelioma, a very rare but extremely aggressive cancer that attacks the lining of the lungs. The key takeaway for the exam is that long latency period. A worker could get exposed in their 20s and not show a single symptom until they're ready to retire.
Next up is benzene. It's a solvent that actually smells kind of sweet, but it is sinister. You find it in fuels, paints, all sorts of manufacturing, and it is a confirmed human carcinogen, no doubt about it. Now, where asbestos goes for the lungs, benzene's primary target is the bone marrow, which is basically the body's factory for making blood cells. Chronic exposure just wrecks that factory, and that can lead directly to leukemia, a cancer of the blood.
Now for a hazard that's been around as long as we've been building things, crystalline silica. This isn't just regular dirt. We're talking about microscopic, razor-sharp dust that gets created anytime you cut, grind, or drill things like concrete, stone, or sand. When those tiny particles are inhaled, they travel deep into the lungs and cause silicosis. The body's defense system tries to fight them off, but it can't, and that battle creates scar tissue. Year after year, that scarring builds up, making the lungs stiff and unable to pull in enough oxygen. And just like asbestosis, it's progressive, and there is no cure.
Lead is a different kind of beast. It's a systemic poison, meaning it attacks multiple parts of the body all at once. It goes after the nervous system, the blood, the kidneys, but what makes lead so incredibly insidious is that it's a poison that hides. See, the body mistakes lead for calcium and it stores it away in your bones. It can just lie there, dormant for decades, only to be released back into your bloodstream later in life during times of stress, causing damage all over again.
Hexavalent chromium, you might have heard of it as Chrome-6. It's a really powerful carcinogen that was made famous by that movie Aaron Brockovich. In the workplace, we find it in things like chrome plating and in the fumes from welding stainless steel. We know for sure it causes lung cancer, but it has another unique calling card. It's highly corrosive, and with enough exposure, it can literally eat a hole through the nasal septum. That's the wall between your nostrils, creating what are gruesomely known as chrome holes.
And our gallery tour continues with a few more key players you need to know. Remember, for the exam, it's all about matching the toxin to the target organ. So, we've got manganese, often from welding fumes, which can cause a neurological disorder called manganism that tragically looks just like Parkinson's disease. Then there's mercury vapor, which attacks the central nervous system, leading to tremors and serious psychiatric issues. Cadmium, found in batteries, is a double whammy. It goes after both the kidneys and the bones. And finally, cotton dust, which can cause byssinosis or brown lung, an asthma-like disease that causes severe chest tightness.
Okay, let's take a breath. We've covered the principles, the language, the pathways, and we've walked through a whole gallery of hazards. Now for the most important part. How does all of this connect directly to you passing the CSP exam? Let's break down the actual blueprint. So as you can see, this isn't just abstract science class stuff. The fundamental concepts we started with, like dose response and hazard versus risk, that's the bedrock of Domain 3, risk management. And knowing all those specific chemical hazards we just went over, that's a direct requirement for Domain 6, occupational health. Mastering what we've covered today translates directly into points on your exam score, period.
So I'll leave you with this one question to take back to your own job. Now that you have this framework fresh in your mind, which chemical, which dust, which process in your facility deserves a new look? What hazard out there could really benefit from you applying these principles to better protect your people? Think about it.
Thank you so much for investing your time with us here at QHSE Talks. We really hope this explainer helped to demystify some of the complexities of toxicology and, more importantly, moved you one giant step closer to earning that CSP certification. We're here to be your reliable source as you continue on your incredible professional safety journey.
And hey, the learning doesn't have to stop here. To really make this knowledge sick, you can find the full slide deck from this presentation over on our LinkedIn. You can test yourself with some practice questions on our YouTube community tab, and you can find some really helpful infographics on our Pinterest. All the links are right there in the description. Thanks again for watching, and good luck with your studies. You've got this.